Yeah, so too much time on Amazon, clearly. Trying to get a good ice cube. Are you ready to jump in?
I'm ready to jump in.
All right, let's do it. And welcome to the Pagey Train. Today, I have in the studio with me, Ryan Cauchi, director, writer, editor. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you back. Like I was saying before off air, man, I get excited about interviews like this. These are always fun. Yeah, and especially with someone like yourself with so many projects on the rise and in progress at the moment. It's great to see. It really is.
Oh, thank you.
It's good to see, people among our community getting far and getting things done. I guess I'm alluding to grey stains here. So can you talk a little bit about grey stains? Or?
I certainly can talk about grey stains.
Oh, okay. Well, just to set the scene, you do a lot of vertical films. So what's the whole idea behind vertical films and grey stains?
Well, in one of the good yet controversial things to come out of the pandemic is TikTok. And TikTok as a platform celebrates vertical filmmaking. Instead of 16:9, it's 9:16. And
took me a couple of hours to figure that out when I was doing a template. But it's really simple when you think about it. It's just reverse.
Oh yeah. It's just flipping it.
Yeah,
really.
It literally flips. Yeah.
Portrait mode as well. Is another term for it. But it was just a process, a little bit to get your head around. But the process of just applying my filmmaking practice in terms of the craft of it to the vertical frame to TikTok, and finding using a couple of the initiatives by Screen Australia and TikTok to really explore that. So in 2021, Screen Australia and TikTok launched the Got a Minute initiative. Got a Minute being a looking for 1 minute pilots that would then snowball into 10 1-minute episodes. And I've also had the great opportunity of showing all of these vertical films at Made in the West.
They've got a good reception there as well.
Yeah. I mean, just like any of my other microfilms, I mean, it's a lot leaner, 1 minute. But the first one we did was Midnight Stories Morgan. And that was Midnight Stories was supposed to, I say supposed to, it was a pilot for a series that would reacquaint, or rather acquaint, younger audiences with urban legends, local folklore.
Oh yeah, like Yowies and things like this.
Yeah. So, we've all heard the one about, the killer with the hook in the backseat of the car, and we've all heard of...
they were on the telephone, but they're in the house.
They're on the telephone, and which surprisingly, non-surprisingly, they would become the basis of a lot of films. So that became the basis of the film Black Christmas, or, the Urban Legend series as well. But anyway, it was... a way of bringing these older stories, but with a slightly modern twist. Like, how can you improve on the source material kind of thing? So we did one, it was loosely based on the Vanishing Hitchhiker urban legend, where you pick up a hitchhiker who's a ghost. And we were... then Got a Minute only had 3 spots for finalists, and of course the 3 finalists would then go off, and then they would pitch the project and to a live audience, and then they would they would give a decent amount of money for that series to go ahead and be made. We didn't get to be a finalist that year; we were an honorable mention, but it was nice that that was
a decent recognition.
It was recognition, and it was it was being seen, and it was still shown at the pitching event. But then the next year, I always like doing anthology, because the great thing about anthology is that they're standalone stories. So it's like, oh well, if it's a pilot that fails for a continuing series, then at least I get a nice short film out of it with a clear beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you still get the asset.
So we did kind of a spin-off, kind of like a sister series to that, called Tales from the Dark Web, which instead of looking at older folklore, we were looking at ones made that emerged specifically from the digital age, the age of social media, the age of chain emails and doctored photography and all of that.
I remember those chain emails from back in the day.
Oh yeah,
they were a big thing. Yeah,
and which then became chain statuses on Facebook and Twitter, and
amazing.
Yeah. But then we made one, Moira Hill, which also screened at Made in the West last year. And this time we were a finalist. So I went to the pitching event.
Yeah.
And, always the bridesmaid.
Mm-hmm.
But
you never know, man. But you got to keep entering, keep making content.
But that's the thing, you got to keep on going. And then the same year, which now that's the long-winded journey to Greystains, but that's just to give you a kind of a trajectory of...
Yeah, well, just before you go into Greystains, so when you make this content, because it's vertical content, portrait content, you don't shoot it that way, do you? Do you shoot it...
Oh, I just...
I saw what happened there. It wasn't on camera. You got yourself with the water. But do you shoot it vertically, or do you shoot it in a conventional sense, but then crop it?
So we film that.
Go like this, actually.
Yeah, I I got myself really good. That's a
new one for the Pagey train.
Side effects of these fantastical spherical ice cubes.
I'll fill you up. I'll make it easier.
Fill me up.
I'll fill you up. I'll make it better for you.
Top me up, Clark.
Yeah. It's a new one.
But no. Initially, I thought I would have to put the camera
sideways. Yeah.
Sideways, but the first time doing it, I didn't know how it was going to turn out. So we just did the old. You had a monitor, and you masked out either ends of the monitor. And then that just became standard practice. Probably so easy just to flip it, but...
Oh, I suppose, yeah, but then you need the mount. You need to be able to have the gear to turn it sideways.
We've got the additional head to do that, but it's just like... Because at that time, I didn't know... maybe this could be a 4x3 production. Of course, then when you consider it being anything else but 9x16, it gets really interesting because you have to stage and compose your shots.
Yeah, it has to fill the screen,
9x16. Bless you.
Thank you.
So you get all these people really tight together to make the 9x16 work. You show that in 4x3 or 16x9. You're just like, what the hell is going on?
It doesn't look like a shot. It wouldn't look like it was shot properly.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
it's
it
like,
really
space you guys out a bit and...
Yeah. The shot and composition would be totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I make mention of it because I guess I just want to put aside the assumption that this is shot on a phone. This is shot... you use normal cameras, yeah?
Yeah. You can...
You can do amazing things with phones, though.
Yeah. But it's just, like I said, I'm just applying my usual filmmaking practice to the TikTok format.
Yeah, because I'm so impressed by these films because when you look at them, they're in that vertical format, but they are cinematic. That's the amazing part about it.
At the end of the day, that's what I want. That's what I was doing beforehand.
Yeah,
so it's just
it really comes across.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it really does because you notice the difference because we watch so many, TikTok videos and YouTube show reels and Facebook show reels, and they come from a variety of spaces. Whether they're educational or they're silly and crazy, or people just filming in public generally, and that's most of the content you see in that ratio. And to see content that is like fully cinematic, that is obviously targeted and made that way, I just think it's something that is very revolutionary. Like it's really the cutting edge. Because if you think about, like, even if you go back through film studies, right, how we were taught as filmmakers to make film back in the day, and even our predecessors, they were taught to make film. processes carry across, but the ratios have been changing from cinema to TV, 4:3, 16:9, but now 9:16, because that's the device. That's Marshall McLuhan. That is the medium, is the message sort of stuff. And to take the cinema skills across to that platform that's normally backyard tinkerer sort of stuff is pretty cool. Like, yeah, if you guys haven't checked this content out, you've got to check it out. Have you got this stuff online already?
Yeah. So if you want to see, if you want to visit me on TikTok, I'm just my handle is just at Ryan Cauchi Films.
Okay, and you've got a few of these films on there.
Yeah,
Cool. Because again, like showing a vertical film at a cinema as a curator.
Oh wait, no, sorry. Ryan G Cauchi is my TikTok handle.
Ryan G
My
Cauchi,
apologies.
correction.
My Ryan Cauchi Films is my Instagram handle.
Yeah. So but seeing that content on a big screen, it still translates. Because imagine if you just shot it in a poorly lit area with a phone, that would translate on a big screen. Like, you would see the degradation in it. It would really fall apart.
Oh, you would see the degradation, but I mean, like, I apply the same principles of lighting, importance with score, sound design, sound mixing. I mean, once you're
Foley, you had Foley in this stuff, right?
I have it all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it really blows my mind. The story. What was her name?
Moira Hill.
Moira Hill. Yeah, that was a really cool story, because it does go into that those horror tropes of the past that have been linked to the future. She gets this text about success, not to give it too much away, but she goes through this journey of discovery, like, oh, I'm a champion, but now things have gone pear-shaped, and it's all through the device. It's the phone call in the house. It is the hook in the back seat of the hitchhiker sort of feel. Yeah. It's really cool. Super cool.
Thank you.
That's why back to Grey Stains. That's why I'm excited to see what's going to come out of this, because I've got a bit of connection with Grey Stains, because I've driven past it so many times. I've done band practices there.
I thought you were going to say something more impressive, like, I was born in Grey Stains, baby.
No, not that much of a handle, but I have frequented that suburb often. To see it in a title is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I there was never any other title considered. I was like, it's like Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Name it after the town.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. But again, I like this referencing, but what is Grey Stains about?
What is Grey Stains about? So, for the kids at home, I'm Maltese Australian, so both my parents are Maltese. They came to Australia when they were very young. So, one thing, growing up, I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me in content.
Okay.
And still to this day, there's a very, very small output of Maltese content.
Yeah.
And I haven't really seen any instances of Maltese Australian scripted content. So as you know, I'm a huge lover of horror and of folklore. If my short film Golem was anything to go by,
love that film as well.
Thank you very much. I love tapping into mythology and the whole political, social context for these myths and these legends. And I didn't even know that Malta itself had really a mythology, had anything unique about it. And about 8 years ago, I'd like to say, 8 years ago, a professor by the name of Stephen Misfoot wrote a book called The Maltese Bestiary. And it was a book that collected all types of mythical characters, monsters, superstitions, the mythological, fantastical aspects associated with flora and with fauna, the idea of a Maltese netherworld and other dimensions and things like that. And I'm just reading this book and I'm just like going, wow,
Yeah.
This is so unique. This is so distinctive. Like I seriously thought, and like any mythology, you think you're going to come across a lot of overlap.
Yeah, or like a version of it.
Yeah,
like a version of your standard, standard
and there
ideas,
is, and there is in Maltese mythology, but there were just so many things that were in there that were just so uniquely Maltese, and I was like, wow, this stuff has to be seen on screen. I need to adapt some of these characters, some of these situations, some of these unique beliefs in a scripted drama. And I was talking to my older sister Helena, well, my only sibling, Helena, who we attribute the story of Cut Off to. So she's my compadre. She's my she's a creative soundboard. She's absolutely fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, great.
And I said to her, I'm seriously considering doing something based on Maltese folklore. She turns to me and she says, have you heard about the curse on Mum's side of the family?
Okay.
And I'm like, no. And she's like, no, talk to Mum. There's actually a legit curse on Mum's side of the family. And I don't want to go into any details about said
I don't want to go too much.
Because that became the genesis of Greystains.
Okay.
And yes, legit, my mum's like, yes, there's a curse on our side, on my side of the family. And she told me the story, and I phoned my nonna, my grandmother, and I said, it's Dewey. And she's like, Viru, yes, Ryan, yes, there is a curse. And I was like, wow. So like any good adapter of source material, I took creative license with an already outstanding, pretty damn amazing curse.
Yeah, great.
To make it work in my story.
Man, it sounds super exciting, man. I think these are great sort of anchors to tell stories too. And that's why I find it interesting in, especially Western Sydney. People talk about getting their ethnicity on screen, right? And what I've been finding as a curator, that this happens automatically if you just have, if you take an authentic approach to your region. And that's something that I found that I was doing subconsciously, because Made in the West was basically started out of, just opportunity for people in Western Sydney.
It's a celebration of our community, and then it becomes a celebration of the cultures within that community.
Yeah, and I was always minded of the cultures of it, but I didn't fully understand, the impact that would have when people saw different people on screen. Like, I knew that was going to be an effect, but I didn't understand the emotional context behind it. Because so frequently people talk about this with me. They go, it's really great what you guys are doing. You're putting, people of colour on screen, people of different backgrounds on screen. I'm like, it's interesting because that's not our, it's not our focus. Our focus is to put content on screen from our region. And if you don't have to throw a stone too far to find variety in Western Sydney.
No.
And you're firing neurons in my brain when you're talking about these things, because to see these things happen is absolutely amazing for me. And you start to see it in the mainstream as well. Films with subtitles are becoming more acceptable. I've got theories behind that, actually, because people being on their phones and quietly watching movies have to read subtitles, because now they don't seem to mind foreign films. Like, if you rewind the clock in our generation, right? From Gen X to early Gen Yners, Gen Yners, geez, well, Freudian slip. There's I lost my train of thought there. There's a I lost my point there, right?
Are you saying that the generation before us would never want to watch something with subtitles?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. When I was at home,
look, I think that's still the case, because I'm pretty sure most people watch Squid Game with the dub.
Oh, do they?
I'm pretty sure.
I've done both. With the dub and without. Like, I think my first exposure to that sort of thing was a movie called Run Lola Run.
Yes, classic.
Watched it first in dub, and it was great. It was great when it was dubbed. But then I watched it via the subtitles. Totally different experience. You miss, when you have something that's dubbed, you miss these little nuances of how the actors portrayed themselves in this film. But when you get their language, you get their tone properly.
Get their tone, and you get their culture, and you get what's normal to them.
Yeah.
I felt the same way. You know, I'm a huge fan of Hayao Miyazaki. I credit a lot of the films of the fantasy films of Studio Ghibli to shaping my interest in wanting to put folklore and mythology and fantastical characters on screen. My generation, who grew up on films like Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, naturally, our first exposure to them are the the English dubbed versions where they, got, A-list actors to provide the voices of these characters. And only recently I revisited Spirited Away, and after years of watching it dubbed in English, and I thought to myself, this time around I want to watch it in Japanese with the subtitles. And I know Spirited Away, I've seen that film so many times, I almost know the English script verbatim, and I'm watching it with subtitles like, oh, this is different. Oh, I know now why they would have changed that line, because that reference wouldn't land in
because of the arrangement of the language.
That no one would know what that meant. No one would there's like, it's cultural things.
Well, I find that, like, even an example with my wife, actually would go overseas to see her family in Eastern Europe. Yeah. And we would call a drink on a Sunday morning after a big night on a Saturday, hair of the dog. Yes. And this, if you're Australian, you know what that means. If you're outside of Australia, you might not know what that means, that turn of phrase. Over there, they call it, there's a monkey, I've got to get the monkey off my back. But it means the same thing. Yeah. It means having a drink the night after a big night. But I've got to get the monkey off my back. So they have a drink. But over here, we're like, I've got to have hair of the dog. And we use that as a reference of taste and texture, and they use it as a reference as emotion and experience. But it's the same thing. And
well, they all link back to an annoyingly delightful animal.
Yeah, man. I've been in situations where we've had a pet monkey before. A pet monkey named Mojo. Yeah, that's another story though. Ooh.
Well, I've just got the French bulldog, and she's slightly monkey-ish.
That will do. Yeah. Yeah, but for sure, I find what you're doing very interesting, especially in that 9:16 nature. I had to build a template because obviously we migrated some content to Made in the West. To TikTok in order to promote Made in the West. And I was really reluctant, like another platform that I've got to manage, another content stream I've got to provide for. So you look at it, I looked at it from the workload point of view. But I must say, when I started editing those films in TikTok, I found TikTok to be the most advanced editor that I've used on a phone. It's very easy.
Probably more advanced than Instagram even.
Totally. Yeah. It's way more intuitive, more understanding.
I would much rather do what I need to do in my editing software and then output it the right way to the platform.
Yeah, match it too, yeah.
But I just wanted to create just a random funny video on TikTok, and I was just so blown away by all the options.
What you can do.
What was available to me. I'm actually even surprised about what options are available to you if you want to edit something on your phone in iMovie, the iMovie app.
Yeah, it's gotten better as well.
Like, even that's amazing. I mean, if you want to hear a real crazy story with the iMovie, I actually got one of my microfilms on a deadline done by finishing it off in iMovie on the commute to work.
Oh wow, that's that's intense. I don't think I've had to deliver on that deadline before.
So a last minute sound mix, and then whacking it onto Vision, on high res Vision, popped into iMovie,
that's mad.
Then
I love that. But I'm the same. Like I prefer to take it into my edit suite to cut. So and then you start building templates. And I was sitting there for a while. I was googling around, going, what is the ratio that I need to do this for? And then I was just sitting there, couldn't find any help on Google because obviously the question I'm asking was so obvious there was no answer to the question. But then I'm like, it's just reversed it. It's the same. It's 1080, but it's the other way around. Like, whatever pixel ratio it is. But I'm like, it's just 9:16, not 16:9. And I remember having this aha moment, like, you're such a dork, Ross. You're 3 hours behind because of this issue. But yeah, but that, again though, you can look at the attributes on that software, not the software, but the platform. So you've got space to put, other artifacts. And that's what I really find interesting, like the way that you present your content, especially more on the promotional side of content. When you look at promotional content, you've got more space to get more information out in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And so what I do is sort of an integrated edit. So I'll edit the baseline content, and then I'll take it into TikTok, and then add the artifacts I need to, whether they're text, music, whatever. So yeah, I've done edits like that previously. When as soon as you could edit on a phone, I tried it, and it took forever. Like I think it was on iPhone 2 that I tried that on. I shot it entirely on. It was at TVS actually. They said, "Oh, we want you to do an experiment, and we'll see how it goes." I'm like, "Okay." So I made a quick little music video using the phone. Would have taken like 6 hours to shoot and to edit, and it's very frustrating. A little screen with all the edit functions on there. But TikTok, man, wham bam, it's out. It's really quick. Yeah, I was really impressed. But yeah, so how far away is Grey Stains down the pipeline? Have you finished shooting, or are you about to shoot?
No, we're as of this coming Monday, we'll be 4 weeks away from the first day of principal photography.
Okay. Wow. Jumping in.
Yep, and releasing the first episode on that sacred day of days, October 31st, Halloween.
Yeah, great. Yeah, the perfect release date for any horror film. But it's a series of films, right? It's not just one film.
No, it's a continuing series.
Yeah. Okay.
Grey Stains. I think you asked before, what is Grey Stains, and I probably took you on another round Western Sydney explanation about what Grey Stains is. But Grey Stains is...
Yeah, we didn't get there, did we?
Yeah, no.
We talked about the curse, but not what Grey Stains is. Yeah.
So Grey Stains is going to be 15 one-minute episodes, and it's set in Grey Stains in the 1990s. And
great. I like it already.
Yeah, and the Maltese back in the 90s, Grey Stains was like... in New South Wales was like the primary location for the Maltese Australian culture.
Okay.
But in the 90s, it was kind of like the end of an era. Kids that grew up in Grey Stains were now moving out and having families across Australia. And now if you look at the Maltese presence is still there in Grey Stains, but it's not the number one presence. It's not even the number two presence, I don't think. So in this end of an era, this time in Grey Stains, a brother and sister, Sam and Marius, come and visit their nunna and stay with her for the holidays. And, the beautiful thing of Grey Stains is it explores the generational gap, the cultural gap between old world Malta and... children who are very much entrenched in their Australian culture and their... Okay,
so sort of slang, language, traditions, culture itself.
Yeah, and that's semi-autobiographical. I mean, I'm guilty of the same sort of thing growing up.
Well, I think these things organically happen when you make movies, right? Like, generally we think about context. Like, what's the context of this film? And when you start building, you're like, there's a bit of a subtext here that I didn't recognise in myself when I was writing it or making it. I like that sort of thing because it's really organic, and again, it comes to that authenticity of storytelling. There's always an origin of yourself in the story, even if it's totally fictitious and fantasy. It doesn't matter. There's always elements of you or elements of things that that are in there, because that's your reference points, right?
And the thing that brings them in touch with their cultural roots is a fucking night of horror.
Yeah, great.
They are
sounds horrific.
The children are preyed upon by Il Hadila. Il Hadila is the sleep paralysis demon in Maltese folklore.
Okay.
And
I'm already a little bit scared of it.
And as a victim myself of sleep paralysis, and knowing very well what that feels like, I am glad to finally put stuff that scares me on screen
Yeah.
instead of stuff I think other people will be scared by. And Il Hadila is linked to the Maltese netherworld and also somehow linked to a curse in their in Sam and Marius's family.
Okay.
And it's think of their nunna as not their nunna who is just worried about making the kids eat pastitsi and say their prayers and that. Nunna becomes the Professor Van Helsing of our story.
Okay.
So Nunna takes a very active role in our story.
This is great. Man, I can't wait to see this. This sounds awesome already. Like, the way that you make these things is bloody fantastic.
Yeah, so it
sounds next level.
It's a continuing story.
Yeah.
And setting Greystanes in the 90s and making use of the fantastic gothic horror structure that is the Greystanes Aqueduct.
Okay. Yeah, wow. Okay, so you've tied a lot in there.
Yeah,
you've got a lot going on in there.
It's dense. But we finished our third draft just last week, and we were like, yeah, this is the one.
How big is a team to run to make this kind of content? Like, what kind of team are you running? Are you a one-man band, or do you have a crew?
Well, no, because Greystanes is funded by Screen Australia through the Every Voice Initiative. And I encourage any Western Sydney person who feels like they come from a underrepresented background, be it
a lot of people in Western Sydney.
Yes, be it someone like myself who considers themselves coming from a culturally and linguistically diverse background, or someone who feels that they come from who are aligned with the LGBTQ community. To tell their story through this platform, through this initiative. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and socio-economic backgrounds as well, yeah.
That too. But so yeah, I'm running a team. It's probably the largest team I've ever worked with before. Cast, producers, all the people in camera. I've got my boys in practical effects.
Oh wow!
To realize, I'm if Golem is anything to go by, I'm a sucker for practical effects.
Again, it was another top-notch thing. So yeah, just guys, if you haven't checked it out, go check out Ryan's channel for Golem, man, because Golem's on there. Yeah.
No, Golem is still, after all this time, is still stomping around the festival circuit. So
it's still going.
It's still going, and it will probably have a digital release this year, though.
Yeah, great. It's a movie that people should see, like, because you've done like stop motion, animation, practical effects. Even the costumes in this thing are amazing. I don't even know where you would go to get those kind of, like, because you do, like, because it's just not to give too much away about it. Involves the Second World War, and it's during Nazi Germany. I don't even know where you would go to get the actors to wear uniforms like that to do that. That would be super hard. That would have been challenging. Was it a guy in Melbourne that you got that through?
So Warwick's Firearms and Militaria, they provided the uniforms.
Oh, it was very legit. Like, it was super legit.
Oh yeah, if you're going to do some, like, I am a stiffler for historical accuracy. Even with Greystanes, with 90s, I'm like, no, I want that particular TV. I want with that VCR, and we need to find that kind of car. And fortunately, all the pieces have been falling together in place. But it is. Well,
it looked like you spent tens of thousands of dollars. Like, I know you spent a bit of money on it, but it looks like a full feature length production sort of set.
Golem did.
Yeah, really did. It did really well. Like, it came to the don't get me wrong, it had the that schlocky horror aspect to it, but that was a part of the tone that you set in that film. But
it harkens back to that tradition of silent horror films.
Yeah.
Nosferatu, Caligari, all those.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And then the 60s element with the stop motion with, like, Ray Harryhausen and...
Yeah, well, you had the locations, the uniforms, the weaponry that was in it, the story that obviously is the backdrop of it all, man. It's, like, super impressive and, like, a lot of time and effort.
Oh, a lot of... On the last podcast, we spoke about how much compositing work goes into making characters feel real, but... The nice thing with Grey Stains is that all our fantastical characters will occupy the space with the actors. The actors don't have to pretend that.
Yeah. To imagine the imaginary thing that's there. Yeah, for sure.
No tennis balls, no masks.
Green screen. You know. Yeah. Oh man, look, the things they're doing now though are super impressive. Like I was watching a bit of a doco today about film tracking, how they're doing that now. They're putting like a fingerprint outside the camera. Where it's then got dots that are linked onto someone's face.
That's crazy.
And then they can then track the camera in motion with the actor. So they don't need a controller on it. The camera will robotically track the actor. It's like they could be jumping out of a plane and it will track them if you put the device behind the camera. It's like, whoa.
It's nuts.
That's nuts.
What we can do now. And in terms of visual effects, like, 15 guys working on everything everywhere all at once and learning how to do half these effects for the first time and the film looking as visually gorgeous as it did.
Yeah, from color correction, from keeping the tone, the grain, the whole shebang, and then integrating that with your effects, man. Like, it's pretty cool. Again though, just to have that crew behind you must be a sense of achievement though for Grey Stains.
Well, it's like I always say, it's like you're inviting kids into your sandbox. You're inviting kids to play. I mean, yeah, sure, there might be some white dog turds amidst the
Again, it's a generational thing. They're not white anymore because they changed the dog food.
Well, true, but I mean, you might find some tailed dog turds in the sandbox. They're the bad days on the shoots or the off moments. But it's I'm working with a lot of the same people, same guys in the kind of the art direction, in the creature design, working with my composer again, working with my sound designer again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, again, with composers, sound designers, I try to encourage filmmakers to work with composers and sound designers. Because especially sound, right? Everyone thinks about the images. We need to think about these graphics from a cinematic view. But have you thought about the cinematic view of your audio that's in that space?
Oh, and sound is so important.
It's the silent killer. Sometimes when I calculated recently, actually, over the last 12 years of doing Made in the West, I think I've watched, in the vicinity of 900. It's just under 1,000 short films made in Western Sydney. We've displayed and shown 300 of those. And the ones that didn't make it, most of them were sound-based. Ones that were rejected on technical proficiency because you couldn't display them because the sound wasn't there.
Yeah.
You need to be able to separate that dialogue, create Foley preferably. I do Foley, by the way. Give me a holler if you need some Foley. But get a sound designer on there, get a composer, and especially composers that are out there. They're everywhere. There's as many composers out there as there are cinematographers and editors. They are everywhere. Connect with these people because they're eager to work too. And it's like as we've been working through our lives, right? We start off small and we get bigger projects as we get more proficient and more confident in our space. And as well, Western Sydney is growing. The industry is growing at an exponential rate. We're fielding work to everyone at the moment. Because everyone comes to Made in the West at the moment. It's like fantastic. Like, oh, great, let's make this film. Let's make this other film. There's so many organisations out there that require content from a range of fully produced fictitious film all the way down to promotional videos. They need everything.
Oh, yeah.
We've got so much talent in Western Sydney, and I've seen it every year. Hundreds of people.
Oh, I've seen it too.
Hundreds of people that are super awesome at what they do. There's different cohorts, like there's we have all of the rock stars of Made in the West, but I see the new rock stars that are coming up.
Oh yeah.
I've been interviewing them lately. We were talking off air before. Cerise and Laura, two young ladies that are co-producing, editing, writing. Like they're two lady army, right? They're gonna light the world on fire. There's people like that out there, and that's what's coming up through the ranks now. I think I'm at the other end of the spectrum where I'm old and cranky, like there's big opportunities. We're gonna make this happen. No, but the truth is that I see the potential in our region. I see the artistry, and the thing that I think that is the thing that bolsters it is what you were talking about before. It's about that organic diversity. It's about again, people say, oh, you're getting colour on screen. It's not about that. It's about the content. It just so happens that it's a different variety. It's a garden variety. There are so many options for content. There are so many different approaches to how to shoot a film. Like, if we wanted to promote a business, right, I could go to someone, they go, well, we're a toy shop. I go, well, but we sell a lot of horror stuff. I go, I've got the director and editor for you. I want to promote this as a journey in the life of. We've got like how many directors that can do that?
Yeah.
How many editors can make that content? Mm-hmm. There are so many in Western Sydney. I guess my real point about this is, if we don't take up the space, someone else will.
Yeah.
It's literally ours to lose. And I think we just need to take the next step. And that next step is to make our fees more professional, to make our income more professional, because we've already monetized what we're doing. People like you and myself and many others that have been on this show and many others that are part of Made in the West, we all started in the backyard tinkering. We all started with a small camera, probably some pirated software at the start, but now we've got licensing for our software. It starts off small, but then it grows.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing in the cohorts that are coming up with us is they're the atom bomb. We're the plutonium. They're the atom bomb.
Yeah.
They're going to go off, man. And we have the privilege of watching that all go down, because we're a part of that wave. We are the initiators of that wave. And it was always coming. If you look at it from an academic point of view, it's the situation that allowed it to happen, of course. It's the accessibility of film equipment. It's the accessibility of platforms. It's the accessibility of knowledge and how to do all this stuff. You don't need to go to uni to get a film degree to figure out how to make film this day.
No, not at all.
You can go straight on the internet and you could, 6 tutorials, you're making movies, man.
Yeah.
They're maybe not good straight away, but make 5 of them. You're now getting proficient. Do that for 5 years. You're selling your content. Do that for 10 years. You're selling your content well. And that's the and I think you could agree with that scale.
100%.
It takes about 10 years. That's what I say to people. And don't get me wrong, there's, people that shoot right through the ceiling from the get-go. They do exist, but most of us, if you get into this industry and you're expecting a paycheck straight away, that's not going to work that way. You need to prove yourself as a practitioner, and to be a practitioner is going to take you a few jobs working for free at the start. It's going to take you a few jobs for working at a not so great fee for 5 years, and then that next 5 years, your fee will come up to the industry where you are now practicing in that space. It's about 10 years, man.
I agree.
It is. And I that's what I mean, to reassure people when they enter films in the Made in the West. It's like, we've had people that have entered 4 times and not gotten in. But their 5th time, they got in. And the guys out there know who I'm talking about if you're listening. Because they're running their own festivals and doing their own thing, right? You go along to their launches and their gigs, and they're like, man, thanks for, because we email with them and talk and go, give them encouragement, man, you just missed out, bro, but please keep making movies. I know you missed out, but you are, this close to winning. Do it again next year and you'll win. And, but you got to understand, once you get to that point, it's still an onslaught of learning how to make content, how to edit content, how to shoot content, what devices that they shoot on, what ratio to shoot in.
Yeah. Dealing with rejection even when you feel like you have made it.
Oh, yeah, the imposter monster. I'm not good enough.
Monster.
The monster that comes out, and it is a lot of no's. It is a lot of no's out there.
Oh, there's a lot of no's. And even, people that we admire and who we think are in the top of the wall at their game, they not everything they produce is a winner.
No. Look, I remember my first film that flopped. I remember my first one, because I had a few wins straight up, and I think it was my 3rd or 4th film. I'm like, I'm just awesome at this. I'm so awesome. But I got humbled pretty quickly, and my film flopped, and I had to really evaluate why did that not work? Why didn't that stick? And there was a few reasons behind it, but you got to push past your ego of wanting to win, and go towards the child that wants to learn. You know what I mean?
100%.
You've got to really go to that space. Why am I doing this? Am I doing this to be a rock star, or do I want to tell stories? you know. And telling stories is going to have a failure rate. You're not going to win every time. You're going to bump sometimes. Yeah.
No, just because, you were the Best Picture winner the first year.
Doesn't mean you'll get it again.
Well, your next project might be one that's not even going to be considered for the Best Picture race because it's like, what the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah,
it's Turkey.
It's happened. It's happened to some of our filmmakers, man. I have to reassure them, like, man, you're still a rock star to us, man.
Yeah.
We still love you. Just keep making movies, man. It's not going to always work out for you. And as someone that's experienced that, I can give people reassurance. Don't be disheartened by something that didn't work.
That's a hard thing. That's a hard thing to learn.
It really is.
And I just say, look, if you're going to be a creative, if you're going to pursue the great white whale of the arts, as it were, you just got to take the devastating lows and the devastating highs.
Yeah.
You got to take them both.
Yeah, you have to, and you have to evaluate both of them.
Yeah,
you have to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And some things stick, and some things don't.
If you are just having highs, there's the risk of complacency. There's the risk of being stale and not wanting to challenge yourself and be flexible.
It's happened to me before.
Yeah.
It's happened to me recently. I can't even build the business website because I've got too many clients. I don't have time to advertise. We're just making so much content, and then you go, well, this is none of my content. It's nothing that I'm building. I haven't made a movie that I've written in 3 years because I'm been too busy making other people's films. Don't get me wrong, you get the dexterity and the technical dexterity of making stuff, but that application of you putting yourself on the line becomes vacant, and that's where you get a bit soft. I think that's my experience. I've gotten a bit soft that way, so I need to go out there and make something and put it on the line and risk it. That's what I'm going to do next.
And sometimes it's worth making something that has a mixed reception, because then it just I always say I mean, Golem, for example, is probably the most successful thing I had.
Oh, it's still doing the circuit.
Well, it's still doing the circuit, but in terms of it was a film that I had made that was being seen and that I could find reviews for it, and people were assigning star ratings to it, and this and that. And, at first, if you get a bad review, it hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts a bit. But then sometimes you look at it, you look at a bad review, and it might challenge you to think some way. So, well, what could I do to, improve on that area if one person thinks that might be a problem for them. It gets in the way of their enjoyment of the work.
You're not going to win everyone.
And that's the thing as well. Not everyone's going to love what you do.
No, you're not going to win everyone.
No.
But that's,
But there can sometimes be some humble wisdom in a okay review.
Yeah, that's true as well. Okay is good. I'll go with okay. I'm happy with okay for content production. And as well, it's just, you got to understand as well, we forget the business end sometimes. There's a business to what we do.
There is a business.
There's a business to it. I learned this valuable lesson actually from running bands. When I was in bands, you're making content. It's of original prowess. Oh, you lost your ghost. There you go. I've got backups.
I'm dropping things all over the place. I'm splashing.
You're drinking water. I'm the one drinking beer. I lost my place. Where was I going?
Managing bands.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so managing a band. You think, when you're 19, I'm going to be a rock star. It's going to be great. And then you realise, there's marketing involved. There's legalities involved. There's copyright involved. There's venues involved. There's promotion involved. There's music video production, sound production. Then we've got to write the stuff. So when you go around to actually producing music, it's only 20% of the business. Like you got to, at the start, what you want to do is move that ratio to just full creation and handing over that problem to someone else. But that's not going to happen for 10 years, man. You got to work at it, unless you're one of those shooting stars, But that's what we all hope
prodigies, for. Yeah.
We all hope to be that. But the reality is, if it hasn't happened to you yet, as a young person, it's not going to. It may happen to you down the track, but at this moment, it's not.
But persistence.
Yeah. Keeping at it.
And not being discouraged.
Well, I think, especially from a technical point of view, to be a good editor, you're looking at 10 years. 10 years.
Yeah.
5 years, don't get me wrong, I was producing TV, first year out of university, was doing that. And, you know, filming content for networks, doing all that sort of thing. But you know, to be your own practitioner outside of the umbrella of people you work for, that's something that is something that you need to pursue as enhancing your skills and keeping up to date with technology, keeping up to date on how to do things, networking with people that are like-minded to assist you in how you're building your product. And then it's a product. At the end of the day,
it's a product. Yeah.
It's at the end of the day, it's a product. It's your love product. You love it, but it's your product. And ultimately, someone gave me very good advice once. They said, "Be an unapologetic capitalist, Ross." If you, you know, especially in music, they say if you start, you know, you can sell out, right?
Oh yeah.
But someone once told me, he goes, "Have you ever sold art?" And I go, "Yeah, I've sold art before." And they go, "Well, you've already sold out. You're not giving it away for free. You've clearly sold out. You don't want to admit that because of the phrasing of it, but that's the reality. You've tried to convert your art to money, so you've sold out. You're no longer happy to be the Kurt Cobain living in the back of a Datsun eating cheese because you like playing guitar. You actually want to sell your art, and you have to admit that. And to sell your art, especially in this day and age, you've got to be competent. You've got to be good at it. You've got to understand the artistry and the science and the engineering and the technical prowess behind it, and that takes time. You can't just automatically do it after 6 YouTube tutorials. You can't do it. You can start, but you can't be proficient yet. It takes experience and time and failure, learning, winning, success, failure, winning, success, failure. And hopefully over time, your successes outweigh your failures. That's the hope.
That's the hope.
That's the hope of drive and doing these things. But yeah, I encourage people, if you keep at it. I think another saying is fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
That's a fake it till you make it mentality. But at some point, you're going to have to make it.
Yeah.
You know, and your passion, the depth of your passion will be measured if you by how long it takes you to make it. If it takes you a long time to make it, you're obviously a very passionate person. You're not willing to let go. And I think if you have a 10-year mindset, a 2 and 5 and 10-year mindset, you've got a good thinking about it. You're rational about it. Because no one rational gets into the media industry.
No. I think if you're in the media industry, you've got more than a few screws loose.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. Normal people just go and get a job or something. They don't try to start and run a business, especially in Australia. Like, Australia is super hard to sell content.
Oh, yeah.
Super hard. Especially, you know, film not so much, but music for sure. It's hard to sell music in Australia.
Music, yeah.
Especially because, you know, you can go into that, you know, the pokey culture, taking up spaces in venues. But I took those lessons across from that and put it into the film industry, and that, you know, voila, there's Made in the West. You're talking to a venue, you're marketing it, you're producing content, you're bolstering that content, you understand the legalities behind presenting it. You create relationships, and then what I realised is that there are people everywhere. There's absolutely people everywhere that want to do this, and the more that you remind them that they're a part of an industry, the more that they understand is, well, I just got to keep applying myself. Well, absolutely, understand that you're not alone.
Yeah,
you're not your postcode man. You are an artist. It's the hardest thing to admit in your life as an artist, and saying it, I am an artist. It's the hardest thing to admit it. Yeah, because your parents don't want you to do that. They want you to go be a doctor, lawyer, or someone that's...
Yeah, my folks are still getting around the idea that I want to make money doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, it's just a hobby.
Yeah, no, and then it's, you know, the word hobby is, you know, it's a bit insulting, but then again, it's that's just the ego talking.
Well, that's it. Like, you go, yeah, but it's, hey, look, it might be a hobby, but I'm getting paid for it. Can't be that much of a hobby if I'm getting paid for it. And, you know, as years go on, you get paid more and more for it because you get better at it and you get more clients, you get more...
What I mean is, like, you know, my day job is producing and editing television. You know, that's a job. But I mean, you know, I eventually, you know, I want what I'm doing, like,
want to step away from it.
I want that to kind of eclipse the 9 to 5, and I want that, you know, I want to be able to make a living from my own IP, from my own ideas and that, and yeah, that's always the hard, but it's a very hard road.
Super hard road, but I tell you what though, we're getting closer. Every time we talk to each other, especially me and you and others that are in our community, every time we talk to each other, we go, "Oh, we've just got a grant for this thing," and I'm like, "Oh, this guy's doing this." I'm like, "Oh, that's great, that's great," and I hope that positivity stays around because, like, don't get me wrong, there's a competitiveness out there. Like, everyone wants the glassware at Made in the West, right? But my point to them is, like, "Are you on the screen?" Like, "Yeah." I said, "The glassware is secondary then. Like, you're on. There's 300 people watching your movie, man, that are laughing and loving it. That's the juice, man. That having your content watched. If you get the recognition and get the big laurels, great. That's fantastic. But yeah, if you got your content being shown, that's the real buzz.
That's the real. Actually having feedback for your work is so much more valuable than awards.
Yeah, I have a cheeky thing that I do at Made in the West because I've already watched all the movies, right, and multiple formats. I watch it on the big screen here with my whole crew. We analyze everything. We have to first of all, we have to vet all of the content to make sure there's nothing nefarious in there. Like, because we've had people like go on crime sprees and film them and send them to us. It's hilarious.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, we're like, "Oh, we can't show that," and we're like, I feel
Made in the West autopsy.
Oh man, I feel like writing back to those guys, like, "Do you understand that everything you've done is indictable? Like, you filmed your crime spree.
Dude, this is illegal.
This is totally illegal." So we have to vet the content. So we watch it over multiple screens, and then I transcode it. You watch it again, and then it goes to the judges. Gets transcoded again. Watch it again. So when I'm at Made in the West, like, I've already seen the content. I already know what's going to happen. I curated it. I know what's coming up. What I watch is the filmmakers, and all of you guys do exactly the same thing. You all watch the audience. So I watch the filmmakers when their movie's on, watching the audience to see their reaction. So I'm looking at the filmmakers' reaction to the audience reaction.
Because we've already seen the movie that we made a million times. I want to see how other people are fidgeting in their seats, and so I'll do these ones and then these ones, and
Well, the good thing about that is that there are new tranches to our Made in the West audience because I collect all the data and we analyse it, right? Especially Misty. Misty's all over this. She's the Terminator when it comes to Made in the West data. But we look at that data, and there are more people. There at least. Near half of the audience have nothing to do with the movies at all. They're just they're just there to watch the movies.
Wow, that is a credit.
You think about that.
To the program you put out every year.
Yeah, because if you think about that, because you'll bring your crew with you, you bring your cinematographer, you'll bring your editor, whoever's amongst your crew.
A couple of friends,
15 films. That's 10 people each. That's 150 people.
Yeah.
We get 300 plus at Made in the West. So you've got to think about that context, right? So some will have extra, some will have less, yada, yada, yada. But essentially there's the people that know that are regular visitors, and then we always have this other cohort now that have no idea who they are. It's great.
They just rock up.
Just get a ticket. They just saw our advertising. They were a part that our campaign was successful. They came and had a look, and they come back. Our comeback rate is 50%. So if you come watch Made in the West, there is a 1 in 2 chance that they'll come back next year and watch it again, and that is insanity. Like because I go to every film festival, pretty much in Sydney, and a lot of the sort of targeted ones like Italian Film Festival, Persian Film Festival, they'll get about 80 people there, but most of them are cast crew.
Yeah,
that's like great. It's a good celebration. I don't want to take the piss out of that, but what I'm pointing out is what you want is audience in there. You want general Joe public in that cinema. You want a variety of those people. You want people that are left wing, right wing, central, gay, straight, black, white. It doesn't matter. Like, you want a variety of people seeing your movie because then you can see that reaction and see how it's received, right? Mm-hmm. And I find that exciting. That's the part that I go, ooh, I like that. I really like that. So I watch watching those filmmakers and watching that happen. Comedies are a great example of that. When people are writing comedy, they find that there's points that they want to hit. Like, there's a laugh point. There's an applause point, right? And it's the surprise where they've written stuff that are supplementary in there that they get the extra laugh. And that's where you go, oh, I didn't know they were going to laugh at that bit. And I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. Like in fact, I've been so focused on that. Like I've been in Made in the West as an actor and as a director, and haven't even seen my own film on the big screen because I've been so focused on the audience. I've had to actually have people from my films that I've had in, like, actually pull me aside, come watch this with me. I'm like, okay, I will. And then I would still be like looking around to see what other people are looking at. I just find that part exciting, and I think that, you know, there's a secondary wave developing in Western Sydney, and that will really become evident in the next 5 years. I can see on the horizon so much work for creative content, not just advertising and promotional, but a lot of serious work, documentary-based stuff, niche, fictitious stuff that people want built. And I want to see people in Western Sydney building it. Yeah. That's what I want to see. I guess, I don't know why, I have to analyse myself here, even right now saying this, you know. I'm like, why are you so Western Sydney focused, Ross? And I guess it's, you know, I was born in Western Sydney. Ooh. Oh, it's on silence, all right.
It's all okay.
That's right. Why am I so Western Sydney focused? I go, you know, he's born in Western Sydney, you know, boy from Campbelltown. And, you know, went away for, you know, a good 15 years, came back, went to university. And I just, because I'd been in bands for 20 years at that point, I just realised that there was a shortfall of content presentation for people in Western Sydney. It was that simple. But when I unpacked that, there was so much more in that box than I expected. There was the obvious appreciation and acknowledgement that was in there. But that, for me, when I looked at that as a younger person doing it, I didn't think that it would explode the way that it has. Like, it's so hard to keep up with it. It really is. But it's a labour of love. But now we have everyone's on the books getting paid. So it went from being a volunteer army to being now, that's a gig that I get paid for once a year. You know?
It's fantastic.
And that's just the festival itself. The things that come out of that festival, feature films, niche horror films that are shot vertically, you know, people that are associated with this industry and associated with that festival now don't care about the postcode. They're actually like, I'm gonna make a series. I'm gonna call it after the suburb, you know. And I find that amazing, because if you rewind the clock 10 years ago, unheard of.
Yep.
Unheard of. Not even in the spectrum of ideas.
I would never ever say in my biography, Ryan Cauchi is a Western Sydney filmmaker, the proud son of Maltese immigrants. He is blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's
now
not
it's
marketable.
like I wear these as badges of honor now.
Yeah, if you had an agent, they'd go, you got to remove that stuff, man.
Yeah.
Mate, you look more Italian, actually. Yeah. Let's go with an Italian thing, because like the Malta market doesn't really sell, but the Italian market can sell. Have you seen The Godfather? You've seen The Godfather, right? There's Italians in that, right? So there's a market there, and we just need to rebrand you.
Cauchi, consider, I don't know, Costanza or something.
Something.
You know?
Yeah, let's just change it up a little bit to suit the market. You know, we don't do anything like that anymore. We go, nah, this is what it is, man.
This is me.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
And beyond that, it's like, all right, let's compete. Actually, let's compete with our stories. And I gotta say, like, I won't mention the full regions, but we get some regional content that comes from certain suburbs. That's always the same. It's always the same. It's a damsel in distress being rescued by a guy that has, a washboard stomach, right? And you see this content, like, I've seen this movie so many times. Like, I understand you're trying to build your profile and you're trying to get that sound bit to put on your show reel. I see what you're doing, but why did you make that movie? And that movie has no context when you think about it. So when I see those movies and then contrast them with what's coming out of our region, like from the heart, night and day.
I will say
night
this, and I think
day.
I said this when I saw you the other week, which was that, you know, I do, like you, I go to a lot of film festivals. You know, making short films. I'm on the film festival circuit, and I go to different communities, different suburbs, different regions, everything to watch it. I will say quite confidently that Made in the West is probably the most diverse program. It caters for, you know, it's got music videos.
Yeah.
Program. There, I will find animation in there. I find student films. I will find a bit of horror.
Yeah, you'll find everything.
Comedy, you know, and really good drama.
Yeah.
Really good drama.
The dramas are getting a bit crazy, actually. They're getting a bit too intense.
Like crazy good?
Crazy good.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are, again, like, see, the action films, like, from 5 years ago, they would get onto the, New York circuit, British circuit, go to Edinburgh, go to New York, go to LA. You go, the kung fu movie that's from Australia with Australian accents. Okay, that's a cool niche thing that can sell over there. Great. But these days, the dramas are getting that same recognition. And I think that's a good indicator as well where the content is going. Like, the content started at a backyard tinkerer that would never get out of the state to a national recognised content that's now internationally recognised content as competitive content. And that's why I say let's compete. Like, if people want to go and make these show reels versus the films that we're making, bring it on. I reckon you don't even have to try. All you've got to do is what you're already doing. It's not an extra effort. It's just continuing doing what we're doing. It doesn't require any supplement to it. It is just what we're doing. And people have seen the market in that. Like, you would have noticed as well, like, a few film festivals have popped up lately. We were at one recently,
Yes.
Burst Film Festival.
Starburst
Film Festival.
Penrith.
And then at the same night, there was another film festival.
The Inner West Film Festival.
The Inner West Film Fest. Like, we've been running for 12 years.
Yeah.
And in one day, 2 have popped up, right? Usually when we get a film festival that competes with us in any way, they last about 1 to 3 years. Right, and the problem is, like, I can go right into it. It's really easy to calculate for everyone listening, really. If you base your festival on government funding, you probably have a shelf life of 4 years, because government will change at some point. If government doesn't change, you've got a shelf life of 8. Like, but you have a shelf life. If you are corporately funded and regionally funded by businesses, you're basically unstoppable unless those businesses fold. So it's way more secure. Main the West has never gotten government funding, ever. It's always been run by advertisement or sponsorship from organisations. It's not government funded, and we don't, because we're the oddbod. We don't fit anywhere because we're not we're not ethnically specific. We're not postcode specific. We're so generic in this fashion, and that goes to the content. That's why that content gets in there. You have to have that broad church for that content to come in. Like, there's no theme. It's just, you want to make a movie, you make the movie you want, and if you think it can compete with what everyone else is doing that's different, we'll put it against it. That's basically the formula. The other formula of authenticity there, while I'm at it, is judging films. Like, being at other film festivals, you see films that win, and you're like, that's a bit suspect. A little bit of suspect going on with that winning film there. I will mention them because they've gone underground. Trop Fest was a big a villain in this sense.
Yeah.
They really were. They would have films that would win that are clearly greased in to win. They were literally manufactured to win in that festival. And you go, well, that's not really representative of anything, really. It's just you're running a business then catering to a nepotistic system.
Yeah.
Main the West is based on merit. It's not based on gender. It's not based on content. It's not based on specific content. It's based on technical prowess, how to make content, audience impact, and watchability. Can you watch this movie again? Right. That's probably the biggest winner in Main the West. If you watch a movie at Main the West, you go, I want to see that again. It's probably won the festival. Right, hands down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because you've watched a lot of these films, right?
Okay.
And there's ones that you go, I'd watch that again. And if you look through your memory of it, they've probably got some glassware. And watchability is a big deal.
Oh yeah,
it's a massive deal because you go, not only is it available to a wider market, they're going to watch it twice.
Yeah.
Right. So that is based on merit. The judges that we have, like the Main the West crew, have no say in who wins. None at all. We don't mind. For us, it's about getting the movies on the screen. We don't mind who wins the glassware. For us, it's like, sometimes there's people that haven't won. We're like, I wish that person won because they're easier to market. Like, because we look at it from a marketing point of view. Like, oh, they're a hard person to market, but we're going to do it anyway. But we can do it. We can totally do it, right? So we look at it from a marketing point of view. Sometimes it's better to have someone that has more channels. They're going to share it more. There's marketing opportunities that have bigger audiences, but we don't do that. If you win, we market you. You are the winner. But it's the judges, to do the name dropping. We've got Brian Brown, we've got the guys from Rusty Cage. We've got people from Ace. We've got people from the Con. We've got people that are 25-year industry plus people that have made feature-length productions. That's who judges Made in the West, and we don't mind who wins.
Yeah.
The ones that are really challenging are the ones that are at the bottom. For us, because it comes down to curation. Like, you would find that there's 5 films at the base of the list because there's 4 winners. There's people that go, that's one of those 4 films is going to win.
Yeah,
you already know. There's another 5 films behind that. You go clearly in, but they're not going to win. Mm-hmm. They'll get mentions or nominations. Yeah. It's the bottom 4 films that are the problem.
Right.
They're the problem. The winner's no problem. They're always an outlier. They're easily identified. The ones that are hard to identify are the ones that are at the border of the bottom. And I always say this to people, it's about duration. So 1-minute films are fantastic. Love a 1-minute film. They're easily curated. You can fit them in.
Yeah.
Yep, totally. So you would know this because you'd be in so many festivals. Like, how many festivals you got into? Do you even know?
Oh, I think, what was it? I cut off was in something like 70.
Another really good one, yeah.
70 film festivals worldwide. Golem, I've fucking lost count. Yeah. But definitely over 100.
Over 100 festivals, right? So I can tell you anecdotally that is a really big number. Most people that I deal with, like, a big shout out, someone like Matty C. Vella, right? He'll get into like 20 festivals, which is fucking mad, but not 70, not 100. And the reason is because of that duration.
Oh, I tell people they.
Not the only reason.
Yeah,
obviously.
no. But here's the way the way I've read it interpreted, where it's like you could make a 15-minute film, 15-minute short. And someone, I don't envy the people who have to curate film programs.
It's very difficult.
It's very difficult because they'll look at this 15-minute film. It's like, okay, this 15-minute film has got to be fucking phenomenal on every level
cylinder.
Because I could easily fill this 15-minute block with 3 fantastic 5-minute films or 2 great films that are like 7 odd minutes.
Yeah, totally.
It's when you reach that 15-minute point, no matter how good the film is, it gets even more difficult.
Well, the irony in the data is the most winners of Made in the West have made a 15-minute film. That's the irony in the data.
And when Grey Stains is cut together, that'll be a 15-minute film.
Yeah, well, there you go. Hey, bunch them together and we'll do it as one. I think duration is a big part of it. For the curation, it's not the. I'm not saying kids go out there and all make 1-minute films because you're going to get into.
No, I worked really hard to make those 1-minute films. You can't just copy what I do.
They need to be well produced as well. You need to well produce these things.
I'm joking, of course.
Of course. But when they're well produced, and as well, I think there was another fella that was doing 1-minute films. I have to remember his name, but because we had the Cut Off, which was where they lost their phone and they were acting all hectic. But there was another one that he was doing business cards. And it was just a business card of 1 minute, and he would paint a business card. Very well done, like macro filmmaking. Macro
filmmaking.
Micro filmmaking. Very hard to do. Very hard to do because when I talk to a lot of filmmakers, they'll be like, "But how do I get it done in less than 15 minutes?" I'm like, you can't be precious.
No, not at all.
You have to be relentless to make a shorter film. Absolutely. You can take a 15-minute film, turn it into 7, guarantee it. There's very few that you can't because they're usually Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and they've got a lot to unpack because they've got this big context.
Yeah, I would love to see a 1-minute cut of Grey Stains because at the moment I can't see it. The story's so dense.
That's it. It's very difficult to get an Act 1, Act 2, and to get a question, answer, and potential unanswered answer in 1 minute. It's super hard to do.
So hard.
5 to 7 minutes is the number, unless you're not doing microfilms. Microfilms is another art. I reckon it's a separate. It's not. It's a different beast.
Yeah, maybe you need to introduce a microfilm category so old Ryan here can win some silverware, you know?
Yeah, man, all right.
I mean, although I will say winning best editing for Golem was, I mean, like, look, like we said before, you don't do it for the awards. If you're doing it for the awards, you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. But it's nice.
It is nice to have.
It's a nice that kind of pat on the back, and it becomes a memory.
Yeah, well,
and I always have good memories going in the West.
Hard film to beat for editing that year. That was a turbo edited film, man. You have to be the Terminator and the patience of Gandhi to make that movie, man. So many key frames.
Patience of two Gandhis, I think.
Yeah. I don't know how you guys do that stop motion stuff. I'd lose my mind and be like, for fuck's sake.
No, I fucking loved it.
Render, fuck yeah, render.
I fucking love stop motion animation. I want to do more stop motion animation.
Oh, dude, I lose my shit over titles and supers when they don't fucking render. Like, they're the most basic keyframed, animations you can do. I lose my shit when they don't work, and they never do. They never do work. And then I export. Usually, when I export them, there's usually some sort of corruption in there because I've done some sort of poor move in between. Almost got that. Gotcha. Yeah. I'm a good editor, but when it comes to stop motion, no, not for me.
Not for you.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, do you do that? What's the software that you use? Are you a Final Cut guy, a Premiere Pro?
I'm a Premiere guy.
Premiere guy?
I mean, I use Avid mostly when I'm in television, but I like Premiere Pro.
Yeah, television is very Avid based, aren't they?
Yeah. It's just the whole grunt work of it, and multiple projects for a series, like every episode has its project, and but the great thing is more and more feature films are edited in Premiere Pro. Like, totally. I mean, the last best editing, I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh yeah, fantastic film.
Edited in Premiere Pro. I mean, there's a lot.
Was that done in Premiere?
Yeah, that was done in Premiere.
Yeah, well,
most Coen brother films are done in Premiere. We've got the two brothers working back to back on laptops, and yeah.
I'm terrible. I'm a Final Cut stickler. I'm still on Final Cut, but
7 though, right?
Not 7, 10. 7's really old.
But has 10 improved?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay, because I remember when Final Cut 10 first came out, and it was just a glorified iMovie.
Yeah, no,
and I will never get sponsorship from Apple for saying that.
They definitely swayed the stick more to a Premiere Pro operation.
Oh, great.
So the dexterity changed.
Great.
So, yeah, what you're talking about, it became very broad brush, plug-in based, but then they allowed you to narrow it. And you can even make your own plugins on Final Cut now. So I have like a Final Cut version that I think I have over 2,000 plugins in there now. Yeah, from graphics to color correction, man. But again, though, I've been really cheeky because I like to take really cool color corrections from like Aria and Panavision.
No, you're not being cheeky. You're just being smart.
Yeah, but I reappropriate them and then rejig them to be suited to Final Cut environment. But my biggest trick with Final Cut that I'm always been proud of is that if you give, like when I do cooperative projects, then they're on Premiere and I'm on Final Cut. What I'll do is I'll convert my project files to Premiere and give it to them, and it'll work just fine. It took me a while to refine that that conversion, but a few little tweaks, a few little boxes ticked here, you get the same product. So then I get Premiere Pro project files and convert them back to Final Cut. So I'm that much of a stickler for Final Cut. I'll even go into Premiere Pro if I have to use the software. I'll adapt. I'll change Premiere Pro's hotkeys to be Final Cut keys.
Yeah, I do the same with I use Avid hotkeys in Premiere.
Oh, really?
So I will never so I'm always going to remember Avid if I spend some time away from Avid, like what I'm doing now, working on Greystains.
Yeah, okay. I found Avid to be very much like Pro Tools. Yeah, it's arming, disarming.
Yeah,
it's a different methodology.
they're cousins. The software, they're related. Yeah.
Because Final Cut and Premiere are based on a timeline of the top clip has precedence. But in Avid, I'm very limited in Avid. I haven't used it a lot, but when I was using it, it was a lot like Pro Tools, where you arm different lines to be your content.
Pretty much.
That was the different workflow, and I always found it jarring because I was so based on the top clip being king. But in Avid, it's not like that. You can activate any clip you want. Yeah. But there's power in that as well across multiple users. So there's multiple users in the space. That's useful. But as the solo operator, I'm a Final Cut guy. Well, I occasionally get Premiere because you've got to pay the subscription, or you can buy. I think you can buy Premiere outright for a year for $350.
Can you? Because I'm subscription based, because then I get my creative.
Was it like $70 a month?
Yeah, $70 a month.
So
but I mean,
like
if you're using this software and it's like it's constantly being updated and constant, like new tricks are always coming in. So I mean, if you love it, it's pretty worth it. But I've seen it. I've seen it skyrocket from like. I think back in the day I would spend like maybe it was like $40.
It's 35,
yeah,
and then it hit 70. I'm like,
but
I'll buy Final Cut for $500.
But it was progressive.
Yeah, it does. It does modify. But the other thing with Final Cut, it will upgrade. They upgrade it as well. You just buy it outright. But I find the functionality are very much similar. But the plugins are a bit different from Final. I would say the plugins for Premiere are more advanced. You can get away with a lot more. And the Final Cut ones are more rudimentary, basic. But you can tweak them. But then you got to go, I've got to build a plugin. I don't want to build a plugin.
No one wants to build a plugin.
No one wants to build a plugin, man. It takes so much time. But when I do build a plugin and I have a good one and I share it with someone, they go, that's a really good one. That was a really good, RGB warp that you made there. I'm like, yeah, that's mine, baby.
It's mine, baby.
Yeah, I'll put that together just for fun because, it's even on the Pagey Train, actually. Pagey Train has its own plugin. So when you see the titles for the Pagey Train kits, you'll see the RGB warp. That's all Final Cut Roscoe plugin. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's the thing. User-friendly. They want to make it more user-friendly. I think I'm worried about the day where they remove the mouse. And the keyboard. Like one day it will be like 3D camera where you're like cut. You've got to do hand signals where you like bring that to there, put a cut there. Where it's hand signals. That'd be interesting.
That's weird.
That'd be totally weird.
It's weird. I mean, and so likely to happen.
I reckon it will happen. I reckon it will eventually get there. It'll be air. You'll be cutting in air. That's where it'll go.
So then you do like the razor blade, like you said.
Razor blade, and then it turns into a sign language.
And then J.
Yeah.
K,
J.
Yeah.
K.
Yeah, and then frame by frame, it's.
Yeah, it's pushing down. That's one frame. But then you put a hand up in front of it. It's like, give me 25 frames, 25 frames, 25 frames.
Yeah.
We're nerding out here.
Yeah.
Super nerding out. We've already built the algorithm. We should go and build the software.
Yeah.
And I see it going there, but I must say I do enjoy a good hotkey scenario. I find the same thing when I write. I have this experience when I'm in, when you get into the flow, when you're editing, you're not thinking, you're just editing. You're just doing like clip, import, like you're importing clip, import, clipped, out, in, drop it in, dress the sound, paste attributes. You're just moving your fingers around.
Yeah, it's on the assembly line.
Yeah, it's just on the assembly, right? And you're just in auto, and it's coming out your hands. Yeah. And I find this experience when I write, when I'm in the zone of writing a story, I feel it in my hands. I feel the story in there. I know it's a bizarre thing to say.
Yeah, feel it in your fingers.
Feel it in my fingers. When I'm editing, I feel it in my fingers.
Do you feel it in your toes?
No, but I feel it in my... it's kind of like when I sing as well. Like I feel it in my body.
Yeah.
Like I feel the rhythm in my body. And I find editing and writing as a rhythmic sensation as well. But rather than being, my lungs and my stomach and, my face and my mouth and my voice box, it's my arms and my brain that are this organism that are making this thing, and then when I'm just doing it, and then I find I get wide-eyed and I'm just there
Yeah.
editing.
Like one of those old school automatons where you're just like going.
Oh yeah, I'd love that. I'd love to have learnt that. That would have been really cool. I've talked to guys that have done that. I'm like, shit, man. Like, you guys with your editing, non-linear editing in Final Cut and Premiere Pro, so easy.
Mm-hmm.
But they even call it, the terminology has been dragged across as well. They call it bins. You drop
bins.
stuff in bins.
Well, that Avid is all about. It's all about the bins, baby.
Yeah, it's all
in
bins.
Avid.
Yeah, but that comes from film cutting.
Yeah.
It goes straight into a bin.
Splice.
Yeah. And then in supers, like I say to people, just whack a super on it. And when I've got a newbie around, they're like, "What the fuck is a super?"
Yeah. I was someone saying, like in the script, when I write something and I want something to be like a title card, I will always write super. And that's just probably, and that when I was in Ad World, it was.
That's how you do it.
Supers.
That's the language. Yeah, you superimpose.
Is the arts department going to bring the supers in for me to pop this over the shot?
Yeah.
This for the pack shot,
Well, the other thing I find hard, because you're from the TV world as well, is working with producers and jargon. So you'll go, okay, so what's the top of the clip? They go, top? The start of the clip. At the start of the clip, what do you want? Top of the clip.
Yeah, take from
tail.
top, yep.
Top tail, right? So we've got to top tail this. And they go, what do you mean top tail? Well, what's the end and what's the start and the end? So I've run into producers before, especially when they're green. You've got to give them the jargon. Because if they don't get the jargon, it takes forever. So I have a terrible thing that I do to producers that are new. I give them a paper edit. Give me the paper edit. If you don't know what's going on, you have to write in and out. Give me the in time, out time, vision or audio, up shot, down shot. Well, again, kids, another one, up shot, down shot, up sound, down sound. That jargon really is there to accelerate work.
Mm-hmm.
Because as an editor, you've got to be fast. If you're on the clock, if you're making to a deadline, you have to be fast. That's the whole idea.
And television deadlines are brutal.
Yeah, money's on the line, man.
Money's on the line.
Money's on the line. We've got to get this advertising out. We've got to get these eyes on this screen.
Yeah.
You have 45 minutes. Let's go.
Yeah.
If you're not doing hotkeys in that situation, you're fired.
Yeah.
You got to understand the machine and understand how it operates. And it comes across as well when I deal with young filmmakers, because I get given projects sometimes to repair. Like I've got this broken project. Like they might have a missing segment that they need edited out or edited in, or but a common problem I get for repair is non-clapped content. So they'll just record willy-nilly, and like no slate, no sound sync, no nothing. And so I'll be given all these files that are marked, DMX 004, DMX 005,
THX 1138.
Yeah. Like there'll be all of these random files that have no referencing whatsoever, and they're like, we can't edit this. I'm like, I can see why. There's no reference, man. How do you know what point of it is? But the trick that I'd say to people is look at your time code, and like, I'm not talking about the embedded time code, because if you're already in that situation, you know how to use a time code. I'm talking about the date created. And then a lot of these guys, they'll have their camera set to, whatever year it was built, so it'd be 2015, January 1st at 11 o'clock. I'm like, okay, so that's the first time you use the camera, and let's just hope that it keeps that time scale throughout your project, because then I can use the date and time reference to orientate what clip is what. And then you give it back to them. And you're like, now it's orientated, you can edit it. And they're like, how'd you do all that? And you're like, it's all date and time, man. But just in future, when you're shooting stuff, you might want to state and say what you're doing. Okay, so piece the camera in front of museum, take one. That will do it. That will totally do it.
Yeah.
You'll be done. And hey, maybe give us a...
Yep. Oh, yes.
Just give us a sound sync. Use your hands. I don't need a clapper. Just your hands will do.
Yep. No, the hands are good.
Yeah. But the amount of times you've watched this.
Yeah.
But yeah, a clapper is better. When I get content though, and they've done a tail clap, I go, ooh, a tail clap, because that's when you take the clap upside down, tail clap it. Like, ooh, they tail clapped it. I love these guys. I'm so impressed. These guys know what they're doing. But yeah, when I get contents unreferenced, you're like, oh, dude, your cost has just gone through the roof. They're like, why? I'm like, because there's no reference, man. If you want me to build this into an article, to articulate this
That's
project.
time consuming, yeah.
It's more time consuming than editing it, actually. Yeah. You're like, man, you just literally tripled your cost just by doing that. If you just said, scene one, take one.
Yeah,
we've got it. But so what's this scene? I said it's a 2-shot of them in the room. I'm like, so what's the order? Are we going to start there? Where are we going? Like, oh no. So that's my biggest advice. Administration is a big part of filmmaking.
Oh yes.
You need to be able to reference what you're making and when you made it. So day 1, day 2, take 1, take 2, shot whatever. Just something to reference it. But hey, if you're really an inept, go for time codes, man. Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong with time codes.
Can't go wrong with a time code. I've got to run near. There's my little time code.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you're popular.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be popular at the moment. It's 4 weeks away from filming Greystains.
Oh yeah, money's on the line, bro. Money's on the line.
Oh no, yeah, well, yeah, money is on the line, but like I've enjoyed shooting the shit with you.
Oh, friend. Absolutely, man. Look, as I said, like, this is a fantastic podcast. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, could I just plug something quickly for Greystains?
No, we're not about promoting anything on this show.
Oh, well, screw you, man. I'm getting out of here.
No, please do. What have we got to plug?
Well, no, with Greystains, obviously, while we have the support of Screen Australia, and Screen Australia has been absolutely fantastic to deal with, given the ambition of the project, we are looking for any support we possibly can to help feed our crew.
Yep.
Any local businesses that want to get involved and get involved with Greystains, it'd be fantastic. If you're in the Maltese Australian community, we want to hear from you. This is this is a first in Australian scripted content. Totally, the Maltese Australian community, the Maltese language will be heard and subtitled on a Australian scripted drama. It's a first.
Yeah.
Get behind us. Just as much as Greystains is the story about cultural and a generational gap, we're considering that with our PR campaign. So we realise that there are a lot of older generation people in the Maltese community in Australia. Yep. So we are using a traditional PR campaign in addition to what's on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook that the younger people will be getting onto. But we hope that younger people will continue that conversation with the older generation, and that, just like this is the story about a young brother and sister learning to respect and appreciate the culture, that appreciate their family's culture. We hope the same thing will happen on the PR side of things.
Yeah, I've actually got. I'll talk to you off air. You've just fired a neuron off in my brain about who to contact. I've got the perfect person for you. You probably know them.
Maybe
you probably know them.
Maybe, but like seriously, guys.
Not right for on air. I'll talk to you off air.
Yeah, no. But seriously, guys, if we would love to hear from you. Contact me at ryancouchifilms@gmail.com. This is going to be a very special, exciting project, and we would love to get as many people involved as possible. All right, and as well, if people want to see some of these vertical films, where can they go? If some people want to see any of the vertical films, they're all on Instagram at Ryan Cauchi Films, or if you just want to go to the TikTok, Ryan G Cauchi.
Ryan G Cauchi.
I don't know which fucker Ryan Cauchi out there is also making films who stole the original tag. We'll talk off air about how we can eliminate that issue for you. Oh, very good.
Yeah. It's underhanded and very violent, but all just jokes, kids. Just joking. We won't assassinate you, Ryan Cauchi. Not you, but the other Ryan Cauchi.
Yeah. Other Ryan.
Yeah, the other Ryan. But if you are out there, Ryan, please like and subscribe.
Please like and subscribe, and like and subscribe to the Pagey Train. It's a fantastic podcast.
Yeah, thanks, man. And once again, thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure.
And you guys have been watching the Pagey Train. You can catch us on Spotify. That's right, on Spotify. Vision on Spotify. Or you can check us out on YouTube. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe. But if you are one of our avid listeners out there, you can find us on Apple iTunes or iHeartRadio. You guys have been watching the Pagey Train, and we'll see you next time.
Woo!
Woo! That was a great show, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, pleasure.
Busting for a leak.
I feel like I might have been a bit tired for you today.